Venerable Dr. James Locke, Professor of Political Science. We have some of the greatest faculty in academia, Princeton, Stanford, Northwestern, Yale. A round of applause for the esteemed faculty and staff of Ruff's College.
Yeah. We're working on the audio. We're feeding off the net mic, so we're not getting past in straight to that, but it is what it is, bro. No, don't mess with that. As long as the feed coming through, even if we just have to roll what's coming off the net mic, the music will stop playing here soon. That's it. What you just do? What happened? What you just do? I heard him more clearly now. I hear the stage now. Whatever. Whatever we did, keep it there. It's cool now. What you do, man? I'm on fair time to move. Hey, I saw him. I didn't know if he was hopping. I said, he ain't no cue. So he ain't hopping. He almost fake. Almost died.
Hi, Frank. Thanks. I'm going to give you a call back. He said he's getting the stage, Mike. Frank.
I also hear myself.
All right.
Said he gets stage.
You having trouble with? We get the stage mic. I think we have a base. Yeah. Hey, what's up?
Today or here?
You don't see it on Facebook or YouTube?
I got my daughter graduating.
Okay.
I gotta wait. I gotta take her back.
Yeah, people watching it right now on Facebook,
Right.
YouTube.
Let me give you to Keynote. This is what Wilson is saying.
Platform party led by Dr. Adisi Daniels,
Hey, go Wilson.
Assistant Professor
I
of
got you on
Sociology
speakerphone.
and Director of the E.A. Smith Honors Program.
Okay, hold on. I gotta send you the new link. Hold on.
I tell you, you're gonna give him.
Following Dr. Daniels is the 2021-2022 SGA President, Ms. Mariah Medina. Later you see the Venerable Dr. Don Cole, Acting Dean of Science and Mathematics. Mr. Richard Frederick, Dean of Business Administration. Dr. A.J. Stovall, Dean of Social Science.
Let me see your phone again real quick.
Dr. Mary Seymour, Dean of Education. And we
Let me
also
make sure it stays
Dr.
open.
Anna Scott, the Humanities
Hey, where do you want to go?
Faculty Member of the Year. Following Dr. Scott, Professor Danielle Littlefield. Ms. Tiffany Gray. Dr. Adele Brown, CFO. Dr. Jason Johnson, Vice President for Student Affairs and Enrollment Management. Mrs. Tiffany Perry, the Chief of Staff. The Reverend Thomas, the Chaplain of Russ College. We now have also members of our Board of Trustees walking to the stage. Reverend Ward, Dr. Bedell, Dr. Horton, Dr. Henson. We have the Registrar of the College, Ms. Marilyn Perry. The Reverend Dr. Zachary Beasley, and our Chairwoman of the Board, Mrs. Cecilia Sawyer. everyone to rise and look to your left as we welcome the President, Dr. Ivy Taylor, and our Speaker of the Hour, Dr. Eddie Glaude. A round of applause as they approach the platform. They have been ushered in by our mace bearer for today, Dr. Margaret DeLashman, Dean of Humanities.
Chico, her daddy.
What was up?
Thank you.
Make sure you get them. Get President Taylor.
You may want to turn your volume up on your computer. They can't hear the audio feed in there, so let me check to see what's going
Who
on.
can't hear what?
Yeah.
Let me see.
Hold on.
Said they can't hear
That's
where?
Wilson. He said they can't hear the audio feed.
Where they can't hear it at.
Hey, Wilson. Yeah, I'm here. Let us know.
Okay. Let me see your
Okay.
phone. Let me see your phone. Hold on. See what hold on, Wilson. You go to YouTube.
Turn this on.
Yeah. Was that good? Yeah, it was good.
You may be seated. Good morning, everyone. Isn't it a beautiful day here in Holly Springs, Mississippi? I am so thrilled to be at this day, at this hour. And I'm excited to recognize our entire Rusk College Board of Trustees, our faculty, staff, students, alumni, spouses, parents, grandparents, and especially on this weekend, all the mothers. Yes. The mothers who nurtured your sons and daughters and helped them to get to this moment in time. How about another round of applause for our mothers? Well, welcome to Rusk College. We're here today to celebrate the accomplishments of our students who have labored in the academic vineyard and did so during their pandemic pivot in their junior and senior years. Some of them grappled with tragedies, including losses of loved ones, financial woes, and other untold challenges that sometimes only the Lord knows. But today, as evidenced by their presence here today, they are testaments to the adage that triumph always follows a tragedy. Today, they will receive baccalaureate degrees in the areas of education, natural sciences, business and humanities, and the social sciences. The faculty, the center of any academic enterprise, have taught, mentored, and invested in each student with the hope that today's graduates will deposit the same knowledge into others in their respective communities, in the nation, and the world. We also appreciate our Russ College staff, many of whom have mentored our students along the way as well. Our program will proceed as printed, and so I now call on Ms. Anaya Henson to sing the national anthem, and the world-famous Russ College a cappella choir will immediately follow Ms. Henson in singing the first verse of Lift Every Voice and Sing. Ms. Henson, will you come?
Oh, sing, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight over the ramparts we marched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave over the land of the free and the home of
Good morning. We gather today in celebration and to give thanks for these graduates. Let us now humble ourselves and go to the Lord in prayer. Spirit of life, Creator, source of boundless compassion, we thank you for this day and for the wisdom to recognize our gifts and to serve you with gratitude. Bless these graduates as they pursue their dreams in unexpected ways. Provide them with the courage to move beyond their fears and doubts, to find strength in their capacity to care for others, and to respect the diversity of all humanity. Help them to be mindful that true success is born of meaningful relationships and a community that embraces peace and justice. Through your gracious Spirit, we ask that you bless them with patience as they explore new horizons. Bless them with humility in the face of success and abundance. Bless them with compassion for the poor, the sick, and the suffering. Bless them with generosity in the midst of the challenges to come. Bless them with gratitude for friends, mentors, and family who have supported them throughout this journey. And God bless us, family, friends, faculty, mentors, and supporters, as we share in the joy of their accomplishments. God, we worship you and we praise you for this day. This we ask in the name of Jesus Christ. As every heart said together, amen.
Good morning. I bring you greetings on behalf of the Rusk College Board of Trustees. It is such an honor to serve on the board of the first historically black college in the state of Mississippi. There's something in being first. You will never be anyone else. Before women earned the right to vote, Rusk College was here. Rusk College was here 103 years before America put a man on the moon, and 63 years before the birth of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This is a reminder that this college endures. Rusk College is under the visionary leadership of Dr. Ivy Taylor, which will soon have the same notoriety that is synonymous with Hollywood because of its indelible impact it will have on this nation and the world. Rust has graduated students who became principals, physicians, lawyers, professors, physics, presidents, preachers, and rocket scientists, and those who were committed to social change. It is incumbent upon you, the class of 2022, to not only follow in the footsteps of those who preceded you, but to make a path for those who will come after you. The class of 2022, 23, 24, and beyond. I read somewhere that God did not rest on the seventh day because he was tired. He rested because he was finished. You have finished the Rustian Renaissance race, but duty and destiny summons you to a higher purpose, to reach, to teach, to touch, and to transform. Congratulations, class of 2022. The eyes of the world is upon you.
morning. My name is Mariah Medina. I'm from Houston, Texas. I'm majoring in biology, and I served as the 2021-2022 Student Government Association President. It is my esteemed honor to welcome you all, the students, faculty, parents, grandparents, families, and friends. Thank you all for coming out today in support of not only one, but 3 classes, each of which is hitting big milestones. It is my privilege to stand before you all on such a special day, the day that marks a new beginning for everyone in attendance. I think it is apropos to begin with a quote from Hispanic author Sandra Cisneros. Cuanto mayor me hago, más consciente soy de las formas en que cosas muy pequeñas pueden hacer un cambio en el mundo. Cositas pequeñitas. Pero el mundo está hecho de pequeñas cosas. ¿No es así? This translates to, the older I get, the more I'm conscious of ways very small things can make a change in the world. Tiny little things. But the world is made up of tiny matters, isn't it? I'm sure you all can tell, very into science. Focus on the small things, the tiny things. These are sometimes the things we don't notice at all at first, but looking back, they are some of the key elements to how we have progressed to where we are today. Without them, we would not have the big things. Take this graduation, for example. For many of us, something impactful happened for us to choose Rust College. However, it was the little things that came after that kept us here and made us appreciate and love our HBCU. Like learning the lit dance during Welcome Week, Wing Wednesdays, the A building bell that rings all day, every day. Even the campus cats. Everything we've experienced or chosen to do has led us here, to this very moment, and all the rest that are to come forth. I say this to you today with the hopes that you know the impact you can have, no matter how small you think it may be. Everything you do touches someone and creates a ripple effect. After today, we will all venture out into the world to execute our life's calling or vocational purpose. We will change the world as we see it, and with the goal of bequeathing a better world to those who come after us. I had the privilege of being a part of some amazing things and choices here at Rust during my tenure as SGA president. That, along with just my initial election into office, is enough for me to be sure that I left my mark here on campus. This position has a lot of influence and is crucial to and for the student body. So I would just like to extend my gratitude to everyone who helped me along this long and meandering path. To all my advisors in Shaw Hall, Mr. Boone, Mr. Armstrong, Mr. Pierre, Ms. Wallace, and most importantly, Ms. Boswell. Thank you for opening so many doors for me, guiding me and pushing me to be the best student leader I possibly could be. I promise to come back and cook for all of y'all again.
Yes, please.
To Zach, you saw me at my worst and my best in this position, and I could not have done this without you as my VP. I know you're going to do amazing things next year as president, and I cannot wait to witness all of them. These 3 years have not always been easy, not just for me. I know that almost everyone here faced hardships along the way, but we made it, despite those setbacks. None of us could have done it alone. We had our own support systems, so to everyone here who helped someone in these caps and gowns walk across this stage, you are appreciated. To two pillars, a part of my support system, Trinity and Delilah, I truly have no words to describe how much you both mean to me. We made it here together. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for sticking with me and always making me laugh. It's only up from here. I love you. I know we're all ready to get inside, maybe get some more food or something. So finally, to my family, the ones here, the ones back home in Texas, and the ones gazing from above. I would not be the person I am today without each and every one of you. You ingrained in me the importance of learning, growing, and appreciating everything and everyone. I cannot wait to use everything I have gained from Russ College so that I can give back to you all in any way I can. To my mom, my dad, and my brother, I love you to the marrow of my bone. And that's just all I can manage without crying any more than I already am. Russ College and all those who made it a lighthouse on the stormy seas of hopelessness and despair for so many. We, the class of 2022, extend our thanks and undying love. This HBCU, with its rich culture and history, prepared us to step into the world and change it, no matter how big or small. Thank you all again for being here to support the graduating class of 2022. I am Mariah Medina, the 2021-2022 SGA President, officially signing out.
Thank you, Mariah, for those heartfelt sentiments. Well, now I have the pleasure, the honor of introducing our speaker for today. Program. He is, as you can see, a New York Times best-selling author and chair of the Princeton University Department of African American Studies. He's been described as a public intellectual and passionate educator. I think some of you have seen him during his political commentary on TV. He is a Morehouse man, and he also attended Temple University and Princeton University. But for many of us here, we're real excited to know that he is a native Mississippian. And so it is my pleasure and honor to present to you our speaker for the hour, Dr. Eddie Glaude, Jr.
Thank you, President Taylor. It's a delight to be here. President Taylor, you embody the kind of leadership we need in these pressing times: thoughtful, courageous, generous, and bold. Just want to give a shout out to President Medina. Congratulations on your successful term. Chairwoman Sawyer, thank you for your leadership. To the members of the Board of Trustees, the distinguished faculty, and to the extraordinary class of 2022, the golden class, the silver class, thank you for the opportunity to share in this special day. I haven't gotten used to this. I'm a country boy from the coast of Mississippi, a town named after the moss that dangled from magnolia trees. And the significance of these occasions still overwhelm me. I'm reminded of my mother, who worked the third shift at Ingalls Shipyard, who had her first baby in the 9th grade, and my father, who endured the blistering heat of Mississippi summers as he delivered mail, and my great-grandmother, Ruby Wilson, who toiled as a domestic in the houses of white folks, who bought her stove with dimes and made the best pinto beans on the planet. Humble beginnings. And now I find myself here with you, honored to share a few words on this most auspicious day as you transition into the next phase of the life each of you have been called to live. Life can be a bit strange. No matter where you start, no matter what the circumstances may be, that place, that beginning, I've come to believe, is a place of value, precisely because you, someone wholly unprecedented, resides there. From the unassuming places, beauty and brilliance can emerge. Ralph Ellison in The Little Man at Chehaw Station reminds us that excellence is not the sole possession of the privileged, of the rich and the mighty. Excellence is often evidenced in the most unexpected of places, among those who are all too often underestimated and who turn out to be the visionaries to transform the world. You have dedicated your college years to the arduous task of self-creation, to preparing yourselves to enter a world that is, without mincing words, exceedingly dark. Many of you have been brilliant over these 4 years. Many of you have struggled to make it to this very moment. Some graduated magna cum laude, some graduated thank you, Lord. You have experienced love and heartbreak, made friendships that will last a lifetime, cultivated habits that will guide you through life. Over these years, in these dark and trying times with COVID shadowing our steps, you have dared to risk yourselves in ways to reach for higher forms of excellence. And now you are here. In the fullness of your accomplishments, you can smile the brightest of smiles because you have made the people who loved you, who love you, so proud. And you know, it's their day too. Celebrate the people who brought you here. Don't ever forget the wind beneath your wings. Always be mindful of the folk who toiled to make you possible. Now, you've also witnessed the ugliness of America's underbelly as old antagonisms threaten to rend the republic. You saw on January 6th, like all of us, Americans shouting "Stop the Steal" as they attempted to sack the Capitol. You see states across the country passing laws to limit who can vote and to legislate themselves the authority to reject electoral outcomes. Nullification isn't a relic of the past. You see the court threatening the rights of women and trying to control their bodies. You also hear the cries of those who cling to versions of America's history that looks away from our national sins. You know, we prefer our illusions in this country neat and tidy. Americans want to remain innocent forever. You have experienced the unimaginable horror of a pandemic that has left over millions of Americans, over 1 million Americans dead. It has disrupted every aspect of your lives, of our lives. This isn't an abstraction. These were people we loved. Mothers and fathers, uncles and aunts, brothers and sisters, friends. And we saw a country so damn selfish that we couldn't even muster the will to respond appropriately. This is the world that has shaped you. A world full of joy and profound sadness. A world that all too often suffocates dreams and demands that you play by the rules. Under such conditions, the pressing question that each of you must answer on this special day is, will you choose to play it safe? To resign yourselves to the way the world is? Or will you dare to risk everything to help create the world as it ought to be? One of the beautiful things about college, I know y'all want to get up, I know I'm running my mouth. You can tell I've been hanging around some Baptist preachers, can't you? I just wanted to check on you. I should say some Methodist preachers. But one of the beautiful things about college is that we get to experiment on who we take ourselves to be. We leave behind the constraints of home, even though we were fortified by love and by childhood friendships. But when we step on campuses like Rust, we get to come here and tinker with who we take ourselves to be. We try our new selves on as our understanding of the world expands, as we meet new people and have new experiences. It's like that moment in Of the Coming of John in Du Bois's Souls of Black Folk. The laughing, the easygoing country boy is transformed by his exposure to the life of the mind. The scales of ignorance fall from his eyes. No longer looking through a glass darkly, he sees the world anew and sets out to make his mark. And this happens in a place like Rust College. In classrooms, you encountered the writings of Du Bois, of James Baldwin and Toni Morrison. In classrooms, you read Ralph Waldo Emerson and Walt Whitman and Virginia Woolf. In classrooms, something happened in the lab. Or as you struggled with equations, or you aimed to create beautiful art. In each moment, in each encounter, you felt yourself growing, stretching out, and suddenly how your walk changed. The references that peppered your speech widened. And folks back home, as mine did, said, you know, went off from college and God knew. I came home and didn't eat pork, and they were like, you don't eat what? The world as it is pinches in on your shoulders and conspires with others to make you conform. To make you conform. And we often fail to resist. We concede to the thinness of imagination that leads us to believe that everyone should be as much alike as possible. Conform, they say to you, or be damned. But this precious place, right here in Holly Springs, Mississippi, offered you refuge and gave you unimaginable opportunities to imagine yourselves otherwise. Now let me say this. The work of self-creation isn't a simple bourgeois preoccupation. The tradition out of which you come, one stained by the brutality of slavery and the terror of Jim Crow and its ongoing afterlives, has resisted in every generation the effort to consign us, to consign you and me to our place in relation to a white world that all too often despises us. That is to say, the arduous work of self-creation across the proverbial railroad tracks takes place against the backdrop of a host of assumptions about who you are, what you're capable of, and who you can become. I'm reminded of the words of James Baldwin. Y'all all right? Y'all all right? Am I taking too much time? I'm reminded of the words of James Baldwin in The Uses of the Blues. Listen what he said. I'm talking about what happens to you if, having barely escaped suicide or death or madness or yourself, you watch your children growing up, and no matter what you do, you are powerless. You are really powerless against the forces of the world that is out to tell your child that he or she has no right to be alive. And no amount of liberal jargon and no amount of talk about how well and how far we have progressed does anything to soften or to point out any solution to this dilemma. In every generation, ever since Negroes have been here, every Negro mother and father has had to face that child and try to create in that child some way of surviving this particular world. Some way to make that child who will be despised not despise himself. Here, Baldwin foregrounds the fact of growing up, of coming of age in a place that denies you standing, how that distorts your sense of self and disfigures your character. It arrests your capacities, and in that light, it is with great effort and risk that you take up the task of self-creation in such a world. You have to persuade yourselves against all that the world would have you believe otherwise. The that your lives are not worth less than others. You have to convince yourself of that. And that the assumptions of the world ought not dictate how you see yourselves. You have to say no to such a society, to such a world. And once you say no, the battle is engaged. This is the context in which you reach for higher forms of excellences. This is the context in which you try to be the best that you can be. Life's journey consists of better and more excellent versions of who we take ourselves to be. Each experience of significance, especially here at Rusk College, called you to a higher sense of yourselves and required the abandonment of older versions. But the daunting challenge of seeking a higher self in a world that denies one's standing, in a world that once again requires us to shout, "Black Lives Matter," gives new meaning to Du Bois's words that of two unreconciled strivings. For us, as Langston Hughes said, life ain't been no crystal stair. Self-creation for you isn't some adolescent engagement with rugged individualism. No, the moment you insist on your individuality, the distinctiveness of your own voice, the moment in which you view your life as a canvas to create art, the world is unsettled. And people will get nervous because of who you are. These years at Rust, I hope you're listening to me, I'm talking to you. These years at Rust have been your training ground to forge a distinctive self and right relation with others. It's not an easy task, but not simply because of the assumptions of the broader society, but because it requires an honest confrontation with yourself. All of the pain and all of the wounds that make us who we are. Those broken parts that have been pushed deep down and somehow survived, we must, with fear and understandable hesitation, confront that pain, confront those wounds. I had to do it with my own daddy. I'm named after him. He looked just like him, and he scared the hell out of me. He poured everything he had in me. I've had to deal with the scars and bruises so that I could become a different kind of human being. We have to touch intimately on the inside that which hurts us. Doing so will free us to reach for a higher self. Our turn inward doesn't end with narcissism. I'm coming. I'm trying to get here. Our turn inward doesn't end with narcissism, where the only thing that matters is our own pain or the fulfillment of our own selfish desires. Self-creation brings you into the orbit of others with whom we share this world. We work on ourselves so that we can be better with others, so that we can be better people. The evasion, though, of our private horrors, the evasion of the wounds that move us about, manifest themselves in the disaster that often becomes our public lives. All too often, people who don't deal with their wounds end up wounding others. Oh, you're going to have to make a choice. Are you going to be a wounded healer or a wounded hurter? Oh, y'all didn't hear me. All of this is hard to hear, especially on a day like today. The temptation to retreat into the illusion of safety always looms. We can play it safe and not disrupt the world's assumptions. We can keep our heads low and take the bribe, get a nice job, a beautiful home, a sweet ride, and enjoy the pleasures of a kind of false freedom. We can leave our personal demons unattended, push our private terrors down deep, and refuse to confront the jagged edges of our experiences. We can justify our fantasies and lock ourselves up in the safety of willful ignorance and so-called innocence. And with all of this, we will remain exactly who we are, permanently docked in the station, trading in the illusion that our narrow world is the world as it is and as it always will be. I pray, class of 2022, that you refuse this temptation. Here you are, growing, graduating into a world defined by the likes of the MAGA crowd. Y'all in ground zero here in Mississippi with this governor, but I'm not going to get into that. I can say it, I'm from here. Those who hold the view that some people, because of the color of their skin or how much money they have, they hold the view that they ought to be valued more than us. You're graduating into a world marked by bombs dropping in Ukraine. Graduating into a world defined by economic insecurity and unimaginable greed and callousness. This is the context of self-creation for you. You know better than anyone, class of 2022, that our world is broken, that the ideologies of the 19th century, capitalism and socialism and fascism, that they have the world by the throat. You know that we are broken, that you have lived it. You have come of age in the moment of cascading crises, mass shootings, economic collapse, a planet screaming, a global pandemic, police murders. You must understand that the imagination is the battleground. Too many want you to believe that the world as it is all that we have. They don't want you to dream, but you must. The world desperately needs you to imagine a new kind of human being, a new world. Dream again, class of 2022. In her commencement address delivered in 1984 at Sarah Lawrence University, the great Toni Morrison told the graduates to, quote, dream the world as it ought to be. To imagine that no one should die because they can't afford health care. That every child, no matter the color of their skin or their zip code, should get a quality education. That every human being should be accorded dignity and standing and should be treated equally under the law. That no one should be seen as disposable. That these crooks in Jackson shouldn't be stealing money designated for the poor. These aren't the musings of radical madmen and women. This kind of world is possible. Ida B. Wells Barnett believed it was possible. You must believe it is possible. That world can exist, Morrison declared, but not if we are committed to outmoded paradigms, she writes, to moribund thinking that has not been preceded or dappled by dreaming. She says, it is possible, and now it is necessary. I want you to be patient with me. I know y'all ready to get somewhere. Y'all looking down at your nails, looking at the phone, ready to throw your hat up, coming up to get these. It is necessary to dream, because if you don't feed the hungry will eat you. And the manner of their eating is, as Toni Morrison writes, the manner of their eating is as fierce as it is varied. They will eat your houses, your neighborhoods, your cities, sleep in your lobbies, your lanes, your gardens, your intersections. They will eat your revenue because there will never be enough prisons and wards and hospitals and welfare hotels to accommodate them. And in their search for your kind of happiness, they will eat your children. Render them stunned and terrified, desperate for the sleeping life narcotics can offer. Morrison was right. This is what awaits us if we refuse to dream the world as it ought to be. Break the mold, imagine this country anew, class of 2022. Because America has yet to discover itself. I'm coming home, I'm gonna shut up now. We haven't discovered ourselves. We don't really know who we are as a country. We spend so much of our time touting, Dr. Rice, our virtue, declaring that we are the greatest nation on earth while desperately avoiding the question of who we really are, warts and all. If we are to be otherwise, if we are to imagine a different way of being together, you will, as James Baldwin put it, have to crack the American image and find out and deal with what it hides. How will you respond to my challenge? Will you risk yourselves for a better world? Or will you retreat into the comforting illusion of safety? How might we hear your voice amid the white noise of angry mobs so full of hatred and resentment? How might we hear your voice amid the cries of so many families who've had to bury their children because the police have put them in the ground? How might we hear your voice amid the storms of these turbulent days? Sometimes you have to sing off key to be heard. Will you take the bribe and quiet yourself and make yourself small? Will you be content with the world as it is as you pursue material gain and turn your back on the suffering of others? Or will you live up to what Rusk College has put in your gut? Will you live up to what all of those whose blood soaked the soil of this state made possible for you, whose sacrifice made this day possible, who dared to sing a song in the face of unimaginable brutality? Will you find the courage to exemplify the dignity worth dying for as they did so that you could fly? What will be the nature of your steps once you leave the hallowed halls of Rusk College? I know the world cries out for visionaries. The world cries out for courageous men and women who aren't perfect, but who are daring to risk everything for a more just world, a world as it could be. These people reject the temptation of safety. These are the dream warriors who understand that those in power want to occupy your imaginations, to kill your dreams. They want us to believe that this is all that we have. They want you to concede to the terms of the world as it is. But you, the mighty class of 2022, you stand in an old faith, a faith in the substance of things hoped for, but the evidence of things what? Not seen. You must understand that from the most unexpected places comes a beauty and brilliance that can change the world. You are that beauty. You are that brilliance. Believe that. Now go on out here and transform this damn world. Let's go.
Surrender to what you're doing. He's changing our lives in such amazing ways. Whenever we feel your presence, we can't stop moving. And it's a feeling that we want to stay. 'Cause our heart starts beating triple time with thoughts of loving you on our minds. We stand on your word, believe it's true, 'cause the cause here is you.
Thank you. Thank you, first off, to Dr. Glau for his powerful speech that will resonate with our students and audience for years into the distance.